But first, the United States and Cuba take another historic step towards rebuilding relations. President Barack Obama becoming the first American head of state to set foot on the island in 88 years. CCTV's Michael Voss is live in Havana with more.
Rochelle, this was the long-awaited meeting between US President Barack Obama and Cuba's President Raul Castro. It took place in Havana on Tuesday morning. The discussions lasted for more than an hour, and afterwards both leaders spoke to the press. Both addressed the very profound differences that the two countries have over a range of issues, ranging from human rights and democracy to the trade embargo and Guantanamo. But both leaders agreed that engagement was the best way forward.
Hoy ratifico que debemos poner en práctica.
Today, I reaffirm that we should exercise the art of civilized coexistence, which involves accepting and respecting differences and preventing these from becoming the center of our relationship.
I guess ultimately what this comes down to, Andres, I have faith in people. I think that if you meet Cubans here and Cubans meet Americans and they're meeting and talking and interacting and doing business together and going to school together and learning from each other, then they'll recognize people are people. And in that context, I believe that change will occur.
Afterwards, President Obama went on to talk to Cuban entrepreneurs and managers from state-run enterprises about the economy, about the hopes for the way forward. Now, Cuba continually complains about the U.S. trade embargo. President Barack Obama has used his executive powers to ease certain parts of that. And it is starting to have effect in terms of new business deals. Let's take a look.
The most visible sign of renewed relations is all the Americans on the streets of Havana. Now, President Barack Obama has further loosened the rules, making it easier for people to come on their own rather than in expensive groups. That's good news for the US airlines, which are about to resume scheduled flights to Cuba. And in a bid to boost trade and investment, Obama announced just days before his visit that US banks can now handle dollar transactions with Cuba. Hugo Cancio is a Cuban-American businessman who has offices in both Havana and Miami. He recently launched a $250 million venture capital fund for Cuba, but he believes it's going to be a slow process.
The Cubans are proceeding with caution. That's the embargo. And also we have to go back into our history. Okay, back in 1959, the Cuban economy was in the hands of American business and American interests. That Cuba is not coming back. So, they're proceeding, but they're doing it with caution.
Two U.S. telecommunications firms have signed roaming agreements with Cuba, and an American company has permission to manufacture small, low-tech tractors here. The first U.S. factory in Cuba since the revolution.
While US companies are looking for investment and trade opportunities here, the Cubans would like to get into the US market, in particular for their sophisticated pharmaceutical products.
Cuba's biotech industry has developed a range of anti-cancer drugs and a treatment for diabetic foot ulcers. Last year, a New York Cancer Research Institute agreed to test a Cuban lung cancer vaccine.
U.S. market is more than 60% of the worldwide biotech.
And is Cuba good enough to compete?
We have very good drugs, so we need to make some adjustments just in order to enter into this market, but I think we have the appropriate drug to enter into the U.S. market.
There's been a regular stream of U.S. trade missions and business executives visiting Cuba over the past year, but progress in both directions could be slow.